I have this 2007 email from Hazel McCallion, and there it is, April 2007, denying that the city keeps records. First of all, insisted that the city doesn't discriminate on the basis of age and ethnicity, and that there are no records to be found in such categories. So denying that the city, let alone city security, kept records on age and ethnicity. And it took, 2007, it took roughly 3 years of freedom of information before we finally determined that that was a lie.
We don't at all track, what color of skin the kids have that were involved in an incident. Well, I can tell you that, I raised questions about it, and I asked the supervisors, and I was satisfied with the answers, and there is not racism amongst my staff.
This is from Peel Police, and this sheet of paper cost $200 in freedom of information, and it asked for young offenders by race. In those years, because I was going to compare it to City of Mississauga corporate security stats. I just want to again document this. The fact that this cost me over $200 means that they had not printed this out before because it required search times. So this is something that the Peel Police Services Board would not have seen, because otherwise, wouldn't have taken them this long and searching and everything else. And there's some really interesting stats coming out when you do the analysis. And it's clear that they haven't. And this is for young offenders. We also know that there's carding. And speaking of carding, the definition for carding is here. This is directly from the ministry's website. And it says, street checks are used by police to engage, and here it is, record interactions with individuals whose activities and or presence within their broader context, location, time, and behavior seem out of the ordinary. And then that information could be entered into a police database. The information collected might be entered into a police database. They actually mention that twice. And turns out, to my surprise, that I found a City of Mississauga Corporate Security Special Occurrence Report in Peel Police files. And what was surprising about this one is that this particular thing did not result in any kind of ban. It says here, he was just standing behind a woodlot, observed a male youth talking on a cell phone. I approached the subject, identified myself, reason for approach, and then he asked for his identification. By the way, there were three other copies of this in the Peel Police Freedom of Information. In the other three, this part here had been redacted, meaning whited out. So they made a mistake, and here's what they didn't want known. The security guard says, I requested identification from the subject who provided me with a student identification card. I conducted a name query with this control officer. That means they checked their database to see whether this kid was in it or not. And then he said the subject then departed the site. I further heard the sound of someone running eastbound through the bushes. I was unable to obtain a description of the person. Now what that says is that there's no ban, there's no record of a ban here at all. It's just information under disturbance and suspicious activity. So this is just general information, no result in a ban, and yet he now is in the Peel Police database. And here I was able to secure freedom of information on it. So when you go to this definition, interaction with individuals whose presence in a broader context seem out of the ordinary. So this security guard sees this youth talking on a cell phone behind a wall where he said that he saw graffiti. So that fits the first definition. And the second one, the information could be entered into a police database. Well, we know here, this is the City of Mississauga Corporate Security Database. They have quite a database. And in it, they record the complexion of people. You would not believe what the garbage in that database. And just because you don't see complexion here, in the others they don't either. They actually hide complexion. So there's another kind of printout that it gets put into a spreadsheet, and that's how you can find what the race of this particular kid is. I have been told that for non-bands, they don't record the complexion of the person, except over here it says, I was unable to obtain the description of the person running away. So it looks like, the thing is, City of Mississauga Corporate Security has lied so often, like who's going to believe that, right? So what I'm trying to say here is it's not just police who record or have carding. My question is, if this is the definition of carding, how is this by City of Mississauga Corporate Security not carding? When this kid and his information is now in Peel Police. Anyway.
Well, I can tell you that, I raised questions about it, and I asked the supervisors, and I was satisfied with the answers, and there is not racism amongst my staff. My staff are diverse, ethnically, age, gender. They are a cross-section of the community, just like the users of our facilities, and that they do not engage in racist behaviors. I can tell you that.
Okay.